Hey guys, this is Jesus Loving Buddy. I'm here making a video called Proof Christianity is Authentic, and that's exactly what we're going to try to do is give you some evidence as to why I think Christianity is the one true religion. Now, obviously, these are my thoughts, and this is the way I interpret this evidence, and you don't have to interpret that way. You're welcome to believe whatever you want to believe, and you're welcome to post a comment talking about that. And you'll notice in the more info section on the side, I've included my notes, and I worked really, really hard on this, and I have my sources and stuff like that. So if you're interested in this information, you can copy and paste and discuss it with other people and do what you want with it. My first claim is involves a bunch of ideas that C.S. Lewis wrote in a book called Mere Christianity. I've talked about this before. Um, in his book, he claims there is a moral standard, or what some people will call objective morality, which basically means we all know what is right and wrong. If I came up and punched you in the face, you would get angry. The reason you would get angry is because there is a moral standard that you hold me to and I hold you to. Like if I punched you in the face, I would be violating that standard. And some people argue that there's subjective morality. There is no good or bad, and which I think it's a poor argument because like I said, if I punched you in the face, you would be angry. And if there really is no objective morality, you would have no right to be angry with me because there is no standard that I violated. And you're just a stupid human being. I like to think people are stupid on occasion. Just kidding. But you're just another human being just like me. So what authority do you have over me to tell me I'm wrong if we're all on this equal playing field? So I like to think it's a pretty easy argument that there is objective morality. So as C.S. Lewis continues that because this objective morality is in place, and we are then accountable to this law or this standard that a God has imposed on us. I'm sorry, I forgot to say that at the beginning. That if there is objective morality, then that basically means that God had to have put that into us, or there's no other reason why we have why we have that. Um, Thus, since we're accountable to it, otherwise it would have no purpose. If we weren't accountable to it, then what's the purpose of knowing what's right and wrong if we're just going to break it and there would be no consequences? Thus, because uh, Lewis concluded that because we cannot follow this standard perfectly, you're not perfect, I'm not perfect. We make bad decisions. We screw up every day, and that goes against this moral standard or this objective morality that I'm claiming that God put in place. Thus, we're basically sinning against God, and and the only and thus we need the forgiveness of our Creator, and that's what I claim, and just about every other Christian claims that's where Christ comes in. He gives us our forgiveness. Um, okay, and then Lewis started thinking, and he says, okay, I have this idea of a good force, and I have this idea of a bad force. Then he said, okay, so why do I know one is good and one is bad? And I'm just going to read from my notes here. Lewis concluded that the bad force must have been created by the good force, and and thus the good force must have been, or excuse me, thus the bad force must have been good at one time, because no one does evil just to be evil. They they do evil to obtain something good. For example, obtaining money is a good thing, but robbing a bank to obtain money is evil. I think we could all agree on that. Therefore, because the bad force has the same desire for good and not evil, it must have been created by the good force, which makes it subject to the good force, and that means the bad force must have been good at one time and then rebel. This logically proves the rebellion of Satan against God. So, if you're having trouble reading that, check out my notes on the sidebar, and if you're not quite understanding it, switch the word to good force with God and the word bad force with Satan. And if you understand the biblical story of rebellion of Satan, you'll get an idea of what I'm talking about there, and it really starts to make sense. Also, we have this idea of perfection, and we all strive to be perfect. Like when we fix our hair, we want it to be perfect. When we want to look nice, we want other people to perform well in our favor and things like this. We have this idea of perfection, but if we live in this world that's obviously not perfect, then where did this come from? And Lewis claims the only reason to describe this is that because we have the desire to be perfect in this imperfect world, then he claims that the world must have been perfect at one time, and us human beings were designed to live in that perfection, but we're now living in a fallen world. Thus why there's pain and suffering and things like that. But we have a sense of things should not be this way. Like when we see a murder or somebody starving or some crime happen, we have the sense of that is not right. Oh, and that also goes back to the objective morality thing I said earlier. Also, Lewis claims that there must be a meaning of life because we all claim that there, or excuse me, because we all ask the question, is there a meaning of life? Some people say that we're all here by random chance and that nothing really matters. You know, when we die, that's it. We're just worm food, stuff like that. Um, he claims that if life had no purpose, we wouldn't be asking the question, does life have a purpose? The analogy he uses to describe this is if humanity lived in the world as it is today, but we're all blind, would we be asking, is there light? No, we wouldn't be asking if there was light because we couldn't perceive it, so we wouldn't even know to ask. And that I find that incredibly interesting. C.S. Lewis is a very smart guy. I recommend you read his books. Also, I've been studying Lewis for a while, and I kind of came up with another way to describe what he claims. And I call it the seven undeniable truths. I claim that there is a God who created objective morality, and thus we're accountable to that objective morality. And because we're accountable, we don't want to pay for the bad stuff we do. We have the motivation to make the correct choices, and which bring consequences. And I claim you have to accept this, or I'm claiming you're being illogical. See, I'm trying to put a box in this argument and basically say, you know, if you don't accept this, then I'm claiming you're being illogical, basically. The reason I say this is because I think we can agree that there is objective morality, but I heard an interesting claim that some say objective morality came through evolution. I don't believe in evolution. Um, but basically they said it didn't come from a god, it came from from evolution through whatever means. Like that's kind of complicated. I'm not going to really go into that, but um, I claim that that is still subjective morality because if morality came through evolution and we all happen to know a sense of right and wrong um, through that, then I still claim that we're not necessarily accountable to it because there is no higher being holding us accountable. So then, if life becomes a game of follow the law when everyone's looking, and then when someone's not looking, you can break the law, then that is being immoral. I claim. That's what I'm claiming, and I think everybody will agree with me on that. That is wrong. Breaking the law, if and knowing you can get away with it, that is a terrible thing. And I think Christian, atheist, Muslim, whatever you happen to believe, I'm pretty sure that you'll agree with that. I mean, that would be a horrible thing, saying it's okay to break the law if you can get away with it. I mean, if I could commit murder and get away with it, and this atheistic, I, I, I suppose that a lot of atheists would feel that way. If there is no God, then we could get away with stuff. Obviously, then we're not accountable to the things to do the choices we make. Thus, I mean, and just because we have a sense of that is wrong, we need to follow the law and we need to be upright all the time. I believe that comes from us wanting to be accountable to objective morality. And some people will claim that, well, I follow the law because if I break it, I feel bad. And they think that somehow breaks my argument. Well, I'm claiming that, yeah, you made the choice and you're reaping the consequences of your choice. That's still in my argument. But I'm saying the reason you feel bad when you break the law is because you're sinning against a higher power. Otherwise, you wouldn't feel bad at all, and you would have no reason to feel bad. So, check out the next video, guys.